Our role as first aid is just something extra onto the rest of our role. Like my role is student support and safeguarding. First aid is something else that I do. There's other members of staff who do first aid who are teaching staff. There are other members of staff who do first aid who are support staff. We're not employed just as a first aider. That's something extra we do. So amongst the long other list of first aid is one of those, which is obviously very, very important. And it's a case of that's why we have the first aid rota, because staff aren't available at every point of every day to do first aid. This morning I've been really busy because we've had sort of exams going on. So we've had students having panic attacks, we've had students that have been sick through illness.
Right.
So it really can vary. So some days I can have 2, 3, 4, 5 first aid calls. Some days it might be really quiet, we might not have any. So it really, really, and this sort of severity of them really varies. We can have days where it's just minor things, minor cuts and grazes. We have students who have epilepsy, we have students who are diabetic, we have students who have serious allergies that can require emergency medication. So it really can have a bit of a process really for sort of the first aiders sort of side of things, because basically what we're trying to ask people to do is, if there was an incident in a classroom or anywhere on the college site, we ask people to report it first to reception with as much detail but without wasting time as possible. So if somebody was having a seizure, they would ring through to reception, because we have a first aid rota, so it depends which member of staff is on, and you don't want somebody in a classroom to be ringing the wrong person because they might not have their phone on, because they might not be on call, and then it gets a little bit complicated and we're wasting time depending on if somebody had a graze, fair enough, they can wait a couple of minutes. If somebody's having a seizure or going into anaphylactic shock, then no, they can't wait a few minutes. So it goes through to reception check to see who's on the rota, and then ring through to the relevant person. The general first aiders will just deal with the first aid calls that they receive. I continually audit all the equipment we have. I ensure that all the student medication that's kept in college is up to date and in date, really. Contacting students where necessary to ask them to have replacements, contacting parents if necessary. And I have a lot of contact with the children's epilepsy nurse as well. And we have annual epilepsy training in college.
Right. Does that involve using CEDA to kind of update things? Is that your responsibility?
Yeah. All, like at the moment, because we're getting all the September applicants coming through, basically any medical sort of or learning disability that's documented on the medical questionnaires. So like at the moment they're coming through from the students that are still in schools that are going to be coming to us in September. They all go through study support. It goes through study support and all the medical gets passed on to me. I update CEDA with all the medical, and then have a list, which is here in front of me, which I'm going through at the moment. And it's basically a process of updating our documents on G Drive, which is through study support, updating my documents from a first aid point of view, and then any that I feel necessary, we contact parents. Yeah, I go through all the list of applicants, and any that update through the year as well, because obviously people's medical conditions change throughout the year. And any that I feel necessary will contact the students and the parents. So any students who are diabetic, have any allergies, where they may need to carry EpiPens or have antihistamines, and any that have epilepsy and use rescue medication, we can keep that medication spares on site. We always ask that students carry their own, because they're of an age where they can take responsibility for their own medical conditions, but as a backup, we offer that we can keep it in college as well, because everybody's forgetful from time to time. We understand that and take that into consideration. And we know that people might forget a bag or leave something at home, so we keep spares. Because with things like, if somebody has a nut allergy, the time scale between the first symptoms and them going into full anaphylactic shock can be very small, and it can literally mean the difference between
life and death.
Yeah, life and death. They can die, the airways close and they'll be unconscious. Same as with certain seizures. If they have tonic-clonic seizures, they have 5 minutes, and if they don't receive bucomidazole, which is a rescue medication. They can go into what we call status, which is basically like a coma, and they can die from that. So that's why it's very important, we feel, as a college, for all members of staff to be trained in epilepsy, because they might not be in your classroom, they could be in the corridor, they could be in the canteen, and if staff are aware of, they might think, oh well, we've got plenty of time, we'll ring. They don't realise the timings of what you have to stick to, where it could literally mean life and death. First aid training is done every 3 years as a full first aid training, but then you have annual refreshers as well. The full first aid training, there's a couple of different sorts, but there's a full 3-day course that you can go on, which literally covers everything. There's first aid in the workplace, and then there's emergency first aid, which is a slightly short course. And then you can have your annual refresher as well. People don't have to have an annual refresher, but I just think it's really beneficial when we're on a site of this size, where things are constantly changing in first aid, and policies change, and the equipment we can use changes, even down to small things like bandages. They've just stopped using a tubular bandage because
is that one of the manufacturers, or is that just...
They find that sort of like it sounds really small, but like if somebody goes over their ankle and their ankle swells, your ankle needs to swell, it's your body wanting it, but people often think, well, bandage it up nice and tight. That's not going to help, it's going to make things worse. If your body needs to do something, sometimes you need to let it do that to be able to heal itself better. So they took away tubular bandages because they said they were too constricting, they were too tight. And we sort of informed of these things at these annual sort of trainings. St John's Ambulance are brilliant and send me lots of emails all the time with changes to policies and updates and training in your workplace that can be provided. It's the responsibility of all members of staff who have put themselves forward to be first aiders to ensure that they're fully trained and to obviously keep track of the last training and when the next one's due. But I do remind staff, and we keep sort of documents so we can highlight where staff are due, and I've had anaphylaxis training as well, because we just felt as a college for certain members of staff just to have a little bit more knowledge so we can offer.
And does that relate directly to the, is it epilepsy, did you say?
That one's for if people have allergies.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah,
okay.
so
just because I'm sure students won't be familiar with some of these terms.
Yeah,
you know, so.
Some allergies vary massively. Some people can just have a runny nose, some people their eyes might... Hay fever is an allergy, but then you have more severe allergies like seafood allergies, nut allergies. And like we've said, the difference between somebody not having their EpiPen and somebody being given their EpiPen is life and death. And it can be sometimes not seen as important as it actually is, and people don't see the importance of around sort of knowing the signs and knowing what to look out for, and everybody been aware really. Yeah, as a first aider we all know the process of reporting an accident, so once reception's run through to whoever's on the rota, we would attend the incident, the accident, deal with it, and then there's obviously a bit of paperwork to fill in after. It's the first aider's role who attended the scene to fill that in, and then that's passed on to Rob. And then Rob does his bit, and then I update CEDA to keep track of sort of the dates and times and who's been involved really.
Right, okay. Right, I think we'll leave it there.
Lovely job,
Sounds great. There's plenty